Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZoomZoomers again on Monday night, 8 p.m. Great to have you all here. I'm Damien Cross, of course, at DC_F1 on Twitter, and I know you're not here to see me, so I'm going to let some guys in now. Apologies, as always, for any bad language. They're usually very well behaved. I'm sure it's going to be fine. We'll see who's here. There's a few people who haven't got the cameras on yet. We see a few people there. Can everybody hear me? Naomi, can you hear me?
Indeed.
Can. Fantastic. Craig, we've got Joe, we've got Alan, Alex, Niam, we've got loads and loads of people. Fantastic. I'll wait for everyone to join and then we'll go through people's names, Twitter handles and that kind of thing. Ian, I'm not sure if you've got your mic on, but not to worry, Craig as well. Let's start with Naomi, because you're top left on my screen, so it's always good for me if I start with the top left. Can I have your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Yeah, I'm Naomi Panter. I'm at Naomi Panter on Twitter, and I'm a motorsport PR predominantly and co-founder of a company called Navigate.
Lovely. Thanks, Naomi. Craig, just as he's finished his sip of, it's not beer this time, is it?
No, it's not. It's tea today.
Tea today.
Continuing the trend of having something not beery for last few weeks. So
yeah. Okay, take your name and your Twitter handle, please, buddy.
Yep. Craig Woollard at Craig_Woollard, and I am a freelance motorsport journalist and historian.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was water last week. It's a hot one, wasn't it? So it's nice to move on from water at least. Joe, if I could take your name and your Twitter handle, please.
Yeah, Joe Tanner at Stuff About Cars, and I work for an OEM.
Fantastic. Thanks, buddy. Alan.
Hi, I'm Alan Bradley. I'm presenter of the Motoring Podcast, and I'm on Twitter at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY.
Lovely. Thanks, Alan. LA.
Yeah, I'm LA, and I'm at @1_LA on Twitter. Dead easy, can't forget it.
Can't forget it, but sometimes you do.
I forget it, but nobody else can.
I was watching one of the old ZoomZoomers the other day, and it was always a running joke about you having a drink there, and you had different sized drinks. Have you got one today?
It's actually just a boring, well, not boring, it's a soft drink in a Guinness glass. No Guinness.
No Guinness.
I do like Guinness, but it's actually not, it's not a boring drink. It's that Robinson's, that mint and lime.
Oh, wow. That's a bit posh for me.
It's great. It tastes like a mojito, except it's not alcoholic. So, you know, of course, it's nice to throw a bit of Caribbean rum in there if you fancy. If you fancied a bit of a mocktail, it's really nice. And just briefly, this is all I'm going to say. I'm going to be quiet for the rest of the night, I promise. Is that a lot of the soft drinks these days, a lot of the cordials have got like the aspartame and, you know, all the sort of fake sugar in, and I don't consider them to be very healthy. So this is one of the only cordials that are left on the shelf that don't have any of that fake sugar in. So that's kind of how I discovered it, really. And it's gorgeous, so you should try it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thanks for that top tip.
Oh, well.
Next one, I've got Alex Goldschmidt, who's back for another time after being one of our very earliest special guests. Alex, can I take your name and your Twitter handle?
That was a long time ago, Damien.
Alex
Goldschmidt.
Hello, LA. Hello, Cammie. Hello, Pants. Hello, Craig and everybody. Alex Goldschmidt, freelance motorsport journalist and commentator and content creator. Twitter handle is at @agoldschmidt77, and that's a bit of a giveaway towards my age as well.
Not the IQ, the age.
No, I think that's a bit higher than that.
I think you look younger than 77.
Yeah, well, that 77. Yeah. Yeah, so I've gone to the fountain of youth again for the umpteenth time. No.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for that.
No
Cammie, while you're there, then let's take your name and your Twitter handle as well, please.
My name's Cammie. My Twitter handle is Cammie Racing. I'm the nation's favourite transgender sim racer, and I'm muscling in on Ian's art racket.
Are we going to get some fisticuffs between you and Ian? Are we?
I don't. I'm no threat to him.
That just basically says Ian's not bothered.
Yeah.
I don't own all the pens, you know.
Well, there you go. End of story.
Okay, Ian, can I take your name and your Twitter handle before Cammie steals the limelight?
My name is Ian Cook from Pop Band Killer. I'm an artist and drawer and creator of many things.
Lovely, fantastic,
like
thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, including this is one of the new batch, isn't it? Sasalandra.
No, new ones have gone on the shop today as well. So
fantastic. We'll check those out. Thanks for that. Let's take Nia, please.
Nia Kahn, Nia_Kahn, spelt like that.
Hey, well done.
Got the right side again this time. I'm doing well. And I'm a vehicle designer, design vehicles.
Fantastic, thank you. Mark.
Yeah, automotive journalist, blogger, vlogger, jack of all trades, master of none, and I am where am I? I'm doing a Nia, Blacktop Media UK.
Yeah, yours is wide enough to take up the whole screen, so it doesn't matter where you point. As long as you point downwards, it's fine. Lovely. And Andrew, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, thank God, Jesus. Sorry.
It's okay. It's actually really isn't very important.
I feel like I have an Austin Allegro of a bloody Apple Mac computer. Anyway, my name is Andrew Ryan. I am known as the Car Factoids on Instagram and Twitter. Hello, Mark. Hello. I have a lot of time for Mark. I know. So yeah, I blog about sometimes very dodgy cars on a daily basis on Instagram and on Twitter. Well, you see my stuff.
No, this week we've got a theme running this week of cars that people have forgotten, and it's good that you're here because you've probably got quite a few that people have forgotten for good reason. But we'll come to that in a short while. But before that, because Alex is back after being one of our very first special guests. Alex, if you don't mind, could you just fill us in how the last couple of months have gone for you? Because when we last spoke to you, it was the early days of lockdown. You were converting from commentating on races at a track to kind of online esports and that kind of thing. But there must be a bit of a mix of it now. So if you could just let us know what you've been up to for the last couple of months, that'd be great.
Well, how long? Well, the list is going to be longer than both my arms, if I'm completely honest.
Right.
I'm now working with multiple different sim racing championships, E-Team Brit, Sim Sport Racing, the Virtual Reality Racing Club, amongst others. So I'm working on about 5 or 6 different championships. I'm actually the championship coordinator. Why the hell did I do that on one particular championship? Because with that, you get all the muck that comes along with it. Not just the social media, not just the commentary, but also the muck. It's like, when are the standings going to be posted? They'll be posted tomorrow. All right, just calm down. You know, then you've got to do all the procedures, rewrite the regulations and all that kind of stuff. But I have also been back trackside since the 4th of July. So I've had 3 race meetings, the first couple of weekends of August. For those wondering about, well, it must be easy to commentate on a 90-minute race. You try 63 races in 2 respective weekends, and it's all karting. That's not easy, and especially with the second weekend was 36 degrees Celsius ambient temperature, which felt like in the commentary box I was now in a Finnish sauna, and I think I had Heikki Kovalainen and Kimi Räikkönen with me at the same time. But yeah, I've sort of embraced both platforms, Damien, and the amount of people that are going, like every time it's sort of like on Discord on the phone, it's like ping at like 11 o'clock at night through one of the relevant servers that I'm on, and go like, great job tonight, guys, really, really nailed it. So in many respects, it's been a really good sort of turning the apex, if you will, and now embracing both platforms, because before lockdown, my world was about being trackside, being abroad and everything. But obviously when lockdown happened, I was so down in the dumps, I think I dug myself a 12-foot grave. But I've come out the other side. I'm a lot happier. I've found out that the first time in just over 4 years, I now weigh under 100 kilos.
Oh, nice.
So that's another milestone. So yeah, things are getting to the new normal. A very different feeling when you go trackside and it is a closed door event. No spectators, everyone's wearing masks. It was pretty much quite ruthless out there. And even me, silly old bugger me going in the 36-degree commentary box, well, 50-degree commentary box with a face mask on, and it still worked.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it was. I'll be completely honest. The first time that I flew out was like this huge wave of euphoria, just sort of like surging over me. I was in the last row of the airplane, seat number 33F by the window, Billy no mates because no one was actually sitting in the same row. And I was just like this, you know, when you just close your eyes and you just let that wave of euphoria, the melatonin all working and everything like that. That's how it felt. It felt like such a big relief after such a difficult time.
Good to hear it, and I really appreciate you popping on to this at the last minute as well, because I know it's hard to do, but you actually sound quite chipper about the idea of coming on to ZoomZoomers again.
Well,
and
it was nice to be able to have an opportunity to see some good friends and have a bit of a giggle as well at the same time. So why the hell not?
Good. Why the hell not? There's a few faces on here that wouldn't have been on that original one. I'm thinking Cammie, Near, Andrew, Joe. You know, there's quite a few people on here that weren't there. So it's good for you to meet new things. Did you actually, before we go too far into it, did you do a track day own scrap, or was that before your time? You haven't done a track day own. Yeah. We'll sort you out. Later.
We talked. No, that was, I think, what was it? The first one I think was like literally. I think I was the second special guest on, wasn't I?
I think you were. Yeah. I think it might have been you. Yeah, you might have been the first. I think we did one without a special guest. Then we perhaps did you, and then I think it was Andrew Clues, and then it kind of the ball started rolling.
Well, chapeau, monsieur. I feel jubilee honoured as a result of that. But yeah, good to be back. Good.
Well, let's throw you in the deep end then with the theme of the week for this week. So a few of the guys here, well, most of the guys here, if not all, have had a chance to think about this. You've had a matter of hours to think of cars that were once popular or you know in the public conscious that were out and about on the road, but we seem to have forgotten about. Have you had a chance to have a think about one that you could bring up that people might have forgotten about?
Well, actually, I had about 5 pop into my head when you DM me on Twitter that particular question.
Yeah.
And there is one with significant appeal, basically because of the brand, the rally pedigree and everything like that. And I'm going to mention Top Gear Series 6, Episode 2.
Okay.
The car that I'm now going to mention was very much, I've even seen a few of these on the road, probably about 5 to 8 years ago, the Mitsubishi Starion.
Right. Okay. Who remembers the Starion? Hands up if you remember the Starion.
The car on Top Gear.
Cool car, that.
Car on Top Gear was the last one registered in the UK, wasn't it?
Yep. And it was actually, and it was sold for just over $4,000 back to the original owner.
Wow.
Yeah. I kind of I wasn't too sure. I thought it was first Richard Hammond that was driving it, and then I went no, it's got to be the one that keeps on going power. Yes, it was Clarkson. But yeah, the Mitsubishi Starion is one that I think people that have actually forgotten. And if I'm completely honest, there is one other car in that episode that was driven by Richard Hammond. So I'm going to throw another one, considering you threw me out of the frying pan and into the fire so soon, Damien, the BMW M635 CSI, which I actually have a personal penchant for because my dad actually owned one back in the mid-80s. So there's two cars for you. Yeah. Good old shark nose.
Yeah. There was a guy in the village that I live who had a couple of polos and he had a M635 CSI that was just covered in brambles. And then one day it just disappeared. So I don't know if someone rescued it or if it just got thrown in the bin. I don't know. But yeah, really, really interesting car. And you just don't see many of them about. And I guess the young people of today probably have never even seen one. They know the new 6 Series, but the old stuff was really good.
I'm sorry, but if I'm honest with you, if anyone gave me the choice that you could have a brand, a mint condition M6, as in the current generation, or have the 635, I'd take the 635 any day of the week.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan. Thanks for that, Alex. Yeah, so a couple there for you. So other people may have some more. Before we do that, though, we just had Ben join. I know Ben had let us know that he was going to be a little bit behind today. So nice to see you here, Ben. I'm actually relieved you're coming because you're going to play a bit of a crucial role later in the Zoom. If you could just let us know your name and your Twitter handle, please, Ben.
Good evening, Ben Hodges, and my Twitter handle is @BenSVHodges.
Lovely, thanks. And you had a problem with a cat? Is that the reason for your tardiness?
My next door neighbour's chunky cat quite wide, and eats a lot. Scared my cat to run away. Well,
oh right.
Otherwise, he won't come back. So I looked at the local lunatic carrying a cat down the street.
Yeah, I bet. It's a role you play well, Ben. Ben, if you had a chance to think about a car that maybe has disappeared from memory that you could kind of remind us all of, have you had a chance to think about that this week?
I have, yeah, and I had lots of candidates. But obviously I can only pick one. One was a 309 GTI, just because I owned one, and everyone always forgets that it's a way better car than the 205 GTI. There, I said it. Sorry, I own both. So, but for me, I think it's a Kia Stinger.
Oh,
I
okay.
think of all the current cars that people forget about, they just immediately go to the Germans and go, "I have Mercedes, BMW, whatever." And they ignore the Kia Stinger, and I think that's a truly great shame because it's a great looking car, and in like a bolder color choice, like yellow, for example, which you'll probably never be able to sell. It looks really good.
It's an awesome car, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Alan should be the one to answer this one because Alan's had the pleasure of driving one around for a while and having. Did you have? Often with performance vehicles, you have young kids pointing at you. I guess you didn't really have that kind of experience in a Kia Stinger, but you must have still enjoyed the other side of having that the kind of the wolf in sheep's clothing thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really open it up in town. It was still, remember, I had it right through lockdown, most being the crawl across the speed bump to Tesco and back. So then you can hear me okay this week, can't you?
Well, there's a bit of we can still hear you though.
Outside of towns, it was awesome. Yeah, outside of towns, it was awesome, but there was nobody to point. There you go.
Yeah,
sideways everywhere, isn't it, Alan?
Yeah, I was looking at the sales figures for Kia Stinger today, and you're right, they're absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just nobody's buying that car.
I think I even saw one in Belgium a couple of weeks ago, and it was a British registered Kia Stinger, and I thought, hang on, I haven't seen one of those in like God knows how long. So yeah, it is and I think in my perspective, in terms of modern day car design, the work that Peter Schreier did, obviously formerly of Audi, jumped to Kia, and that car just looks absolutely spot on. It was in the normal flame red you'll associate with some cars, and it looked really, really nice. But yeah, as Alan said, there will be some cars that will be in the sort of like the Audi-esque sort of Nardo grey, sort of like look-alike paint, and then you'll get the bright ones with the yellows on there as well. So yeah, a great car.
I have one over an S5 any day of the week.
Oh, okay.
Could you make an honourable mention for the XE? That's going the same way as well, isn't it? Jag XE. I mean, who remembers that car? I remember seeing an XE just after it was launched in Ireland, and I was on my way to the bank. And in Ireland, the spec level is pretty poor. So it was a person trying it out for a fleet company. And I was asking her about it because I hadn't seen it on the road. And she said, the trouble with this car, it's not available with leather. And she showed me the back seat, and somebody had spilled the coffee all over the cloth interior. And stuff like that, But I mean, I think the XE, I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw an XE.
They kind of float under the radar.
I saw one this morning, and it struck me exactly because I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen one.
Yeah. So Andrew, did you? Well, actually, you know what, Andrew? I'm going to save you to last because I think you've probably got a few suggestions there, and if I go to other people first, you're bound to have one that no one else has said.
I hope to God no one's picked the one I really want, because when you mentioned it to me, I had one instantly, but I can, knowing my luck, someone's going to pick it. Hopefully,
we'll see. Okay, let's go to
I
Joe.
have an advert for you as well so I did me homework.
You got Andrew? Sorry.
I managed to find a rather bizarre advert for it as well.
Oh, okay. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Joe, but let's have yours next.
Okay, my pick is the Renault 19.
Oh, yes.
Particularly in 1.8 16 valve guys. About 140 horsepower, 0-60, 8 seconds. What car? Hot hatch of the year 1990. So yeah, I just remember it being a great looking car. I never drove one, but I did ride in one.
Yeah.
Just before I went and bought my first car, actually, but I didn't. Thought I wanted a Renault 19, but ended up with a Peugeot. But,
The convertibles look quite cool, I think.
The convertibles
Wow,
are,
yeah, the
convertibles are fun.
They're that like speedy, what do they call it? Like a speedster type back cowl on them.
I'm not that familiar with the convertible. For me, the 3-door is the in blue. It's got to be the the one.
Was that essentially replaced by the Megane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd look to see if there's any Renault 19s for sale in the UK, and I couldn't find a single Renault 19.
Wow, they were
Gavin
everywhere.
Braithwaite Smith posted a convertible on Twitter the other day, so he found one, but it's literally there's none around. These cars from the early 90s and that period, they're just disappearing.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It's weird when you then think, when someone reminds you of these cars and you kind of you remember them again. Cool. Is everyone hearing my microphone okay? Just to kind of check out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
okay.
it's fine.
Before we move on,
I'm not too quiet. I think you said earlier I was a bit quiet.
You're a bit louder now, Cammie. Let's have yours next then, Cammie. Have you had a chance to think about one of these?
Yeah. Does anybody? Well, you'll all remember it. We're all petrol heads. Ford Probe.
Yeah. Where did they all go? Yeah.
Which was really, I just remember it being really unpopular and like a replacement for the Capri, but nobody liked it. And
wasn't it a Mazda MX-6?
Yeah,
but with a different body on? Yeah.
Everyone goes back and
Mark,
thinks
come on.
Fond memories of Sierras and Escorts and Capri and everything, and the Probe sort of gets. I think it was sort of in between, like the Cougar. Nobody liked the Cougar either.
No, it's strange because people do love a Ford. I mean, Cammie, you'll often mention a Ford. We get that, but generally out there, older Fords, will command a lot of value and a big following, and the Probe kind of just doesn't really do that. The same as kind of the Mark I Mondeos of the same era, they kind of all disappeared as well. And
the Ford Probe looks too American.
It's very American, especially
that red strip light across the whole back, where you can tell there was a little bit for an American license plate, but they just sort of covered it in red reflective material, so it goes across the whole. But yeah, that didn't really sell in the UK.
Yeah, and the only interesting part of its styling was hidden in Europe behind the front number plate, because it had this snout where the two sides of the sort of little grill strip went in, which made it quite interesting. And then Europe, they put the number plate right over the top, so it got rid of the only sort of interesting styling touch there.
Yeah,
it was interesting that when you started mentioning it, the first thing Nia did was that move. So it's clearly something that's an iconic thing in car design before you even mentioned what it was. It's like he's doing the Mobot. So Alan,
He and I have discussed it before, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
The probe came up on Twitter just a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about Steve Coogan and how he ruined the image of it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The probe has another interesting styling feature that's actually shared with the car that I've chosen. If you want to.
Okay, you know what? Before we go to Alan and Nia, let's have your suggestion and let's see how this ties into the Probe as well. Then
it ties into the Probe. It also ties into the Stinger. Right. If the Stinger is basically the ultimate Korean car, and ultimately this is where the Korean car manufacturers have reached the point where they have a car like the Stinger. Nobody buys it, but they have a car like the Stinger. So I've actually gone right back to the very beginning. I went to the effort of printing it out. Who remembers this?
No.
Oh my goodness!
As soon as
that's a Hyundai.
Hyundai, yeah.
It's the S Coupe, and as soon as you started speaking, I knew that's what you were going to.
The Scoop.
So the Americans call it the Scoop or something, but this was the Hyundai S Coupe, and it has the kind of the blacked out C-pillar thing going that the Probe also had. A very, of its time, late 80s, early 90s design. The reason I picked it, apart from the fact that everybody's forgotten it, it was a very cute, quite cool, pretty little coupe at a time where
most manufacturers had stopped doing kind of just ordinary little pretty coupes. The reason it's significant is it was actually the first car that was actually designed in Korea. Up until the S Coupe, all the Hyundais were retail design. They were all Gigaro. They were all designed in Europe. And the story is that they actually did a blind internal competition, design competition between Ital Design and the new local studio that they'd set up. And as I say, it's a blind test, showed it to management, and management chose the local Korean design over the Ital design. So
wow, fantastic.
That is the birth of Korean car design. That's the birth of the Korean car industry. Every good Hyundai and Kia that is out there today, as was mentioned, Peter Schreier and all that, they're really on top of design at the moment. It all traces back to that unassuming, pretty little coupe that everybody's forgotten.
Lovely, yeah.
They still make it, but they still make the coupe, but now it's like a strange 3-door where it's got 2 doors on one side and 1 door on the other.
That's the Veloster. I don't think they still make the Veloster.
No, they. I used to work for a Hyundai dealer locally to me, and I saw the previous generation that they had the Veloster.
I was thinking it was called the coupe. Sorry.
Yeah, well, they had a coupe alongside it, which I will be completely honest was the most blandest coupe I think I've ever seen in my life. It was so unassuming because that's another car that I think has been forgotten. Obviously, with the S Coupe and then the Hyundai Coupe, which I think as its range topper had a 2.8 litre V6 with twin tailpipes out the back, 6-speed manual. Yeah,
when it the Fiat Coupe in Italy, that was its big claim to fame, that it actually outsold the Fiat Coupe, the Coupe Fiat in Italy.
There's a Fiat. Actually, can I just jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
Something that Near said. Of course, any mention of Hyundai, I always have to mention about the Marina, because the Marina was the original inspiration. Well, the kind of layout of it for the first Hyundai.
Oh, wow.
Never.
What an inspirational car.
Well, the story is that when George Turnbull, who not many people know that much about, was a really important figure in the history of the motor industry, in Britain anyway. When he left BL, he was given 2 Marinas, and he went over to Korea, South Korea, because they had hired him to basically set up a manufacturing operation. So at the time, Hyundai were assembling the Ford Cortina and the Ford Granada under license, but they weren't building their own car. And Giugiaro designed the pony, and loads of British guys came over and actually developed the car. There's a factoid on that.
Oh, cool. Oh, thanks for that, Andrew. Lovely.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. Remember that one.
Okay, before Alan's mic cuts out, let's have Alan's suggestion.
Okay, so I've chosen another Ford actually. Okay. And this is one that we all remember its predecessor.
Right.
We kind of choose to forget the current version, but it's the Mark II Ford Ka.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see that coming.
Which we all forget existed, and it's
try to forget it existed. Try to forget.
Yeah.
Is it a Ford Ka or a Ford KA?
It's a Ka.
It's a Ka.
As in
I
get
call it
into
Ka,
the
but
Ka.
so many people call it KA.
Yeah,
there was an advertising campaign when they first launched the first one where it said "get into the car," wasn't it? They kind of tried to reinforce that point, but it was just so confusing, which is a very Ford thing to do. They either name their cars after porn mags like Fiesta and Escort, or they just give them names.
Just drop that one in, why don't you, Damien?
I wouldn't know that.
Fiesta Razzle.
Oh dear. Yeah, here's the limited edition, the Razzle, new from Ford. Sorry, but I'm going to add to Alan's little trivia on this. I actually worked for Ford when the first generation car came out, and you had the Cat Collection. But then there was another one on top of that, which really took the biscuit. Did anyone hear of the Cat Summer Collection? Because I can definitely remember this car, because I was working for Ford at a dealership, and a Cat Summer Collection was my demonstrator. Pacific Green. And tried driving that 130 miles round trip It's siphoning fuel like a good one out of that nice little 1.3 Endura engine.
Yeah.
6 days a week. No. And
Living the dream.
and yeah, it was just sort of like going, really, what did you have to put a full length foldable roof, which was manual? Not I think it was manual, not electric. So it was like you had to wind the thing back. I was just like thinking, hang on, I feel like I'm in a sardine can, not a car.
Funny enough, actually, that's quite appealing to the likes of me. But I suppose, you know.
When you're sort of in your early 20s, the first thing you don't want to think about is how unsafe you feel in a car that's got buffeting, in the words of James May, going across whatever the roof is above your head at 70 miles an hour on the A13. Not good.
Not good. Thanks. Before we move on to everyone else's, I'm just going to let the guest in because we got a new guy joining us this week for the first time. So I've just invited him in here. Hopefully you'll be able to see Dorian in just a moment. For those of you who don't know Dorian Hindmarsh, haven't had a chance to meet him, fantastic guy who's heavily involved in looking at the future of fuels and car design and that kind of thing, with lots of projects on the go, lots of history of engineering and businesses involving engineering, and as part of the team from QS, who were the first to convert a Tesla Model S into an estate car or a station wagon or a shooting brake, or whatever your preferred term is for that kind of thing. So I'll just wait for him to oh, Naomi's clapping her hands. Are you very excited about this?
I just made the connection when you mentioned the Model S. Sorry. It just suddenly clicked.
Wasn't it carbon fiber or something?
Yeah, it's a fantastic car. I was there luckily when they were building it. They built it in a secret location in Norfolk, and I was invited along and obviously told not to tell anybody where I was going, and saw the build in progress. And the technology behind it is incredible, and the team behind it as well. People that have worked on the McLaren F1 project and Payne's Le Mans project and these kind of things. So it was a fantastic project to see evolving, the very first one, and others have come along since then and done coach building, but QS was the first, and I still maintain it's the one to choose. Dorian, can you hear us there? I can see you on screen now.
Can you hear me? That's the question.
I can hear you. You're not very loud, so if you wouldn't mind just speaking nice and loud, or just holding the thing closer to your face. Yeah. So I've just kind of briefed the guys a little bit about what you do, but it's probably best if it comes from you, if that's okay. So could you give us a bit of history of Dorian over the last few decades?
Wow. Yeah. Where to start? I guess my stomping ground in the beginning was working with Lotus. I did my PhD with Lotus. So it sounds like a big drop thing there, but I got into car kind of interests and topics and ideas by being in a wrong place at the wrong time and being requested to design some software for Lotus for acoustic predictive three-dimensional modeling.
Right.
So I started designing software which would change the shape of cars today to do with making them quieter, which is ironic given the current trend of electric vehicles. But it actually, because Lotus is Lotus, it's actually all about getting a very loud car to get through a legislative test without breaking the law.
Okay.
So I started my automotive career by designing software which enabled people to do that and get cars that were excruciatingly loud, getting through a 72 decibel test that the EU was implementing.
So what car was that? What model of Lotus was it designed, or was the software first used for?
Well, it went on the Monza effectively, or the Elise Exige platform.
Yeah.
And I've no idea what cars it's working on now. It could, it's been adopted by the Lotus package, and it's probably used globally by many automotive manufacturers. But one of the things it did demonstrate was the fact that we could use structures on the vehicle itself to deflect, shadow, change acoustically the sound coming out of the pressure waves coming out of the exhaust and the intake snorkel of the engine in such a way that cars at up to 100 decibels could still pass the test.
Fantastic. And so since then, I know you as an engineering guy and someone who is obviously in the forefront of electric vehicles at the moment, but you're not averse to the old kind of suck, squeeze, bang, blow kind of engineering and nuts and bolts of it all. So let's talk us through a few of the projects you've got on at the moment, if you don't mind.
Well, ironically, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now is actually electric. It's becoming a big thing with electric sales, electric vehicle sales predominantly. And but I've been involved in projects from classic vehicle conversion to electric from petrol, which is a bit of a shame, but it's become a new thing for me to be involved in. But cars, alteration, modification, racing. I did a stint managing a Formula Ford team and a Formula T car series team, and looking at that, I did a bit of really sort of unprofessional racing myself. I wasn't very good. That's why I don't do it. Terrible. And getting into the whole kind of business development side of vehicles. So how do we sell vehicles better? How do we engage with the public better to change for electric or for whatever? Hydrogen is a big thing for me. A few years ago, I ran a company out of Norway that was designing technology for hydrogen internal combustion, which of course is a potential transition. It's kind of left by the wayside, but you've got all these hydrocarbon-based vehicles out there. There is a potential to keep them going using hydrogen-based fuels. But we've now moved away from that, and technology drive is really at the fuel cell. Battery technology has limitations, whereas hydrogen has great potential for commercial vehicle and fleet vehicle turns, where you have to be refueling in seconds, not hours, minutes, etc., because the vehicle only makes money when it's on the road. So there's a lot of that happening at the moment that I'm involved in various projects, from hydrogen through to new vehicle design, and as you've mentioned earlier, customization or modification of vehicles. And really that's the last project there we did with our little gathering of people with the Tesla. Was an interesting project from is there a business model that says we can do coach building? Is there an exclusive marketplace for modification and alteration to vehicles? And I think for the clientele that have very deep velvet lined pockets, there is still always that sort of, I can't have it, I don't want the same as everybody else, dealership. I want to have something a little bit better or a bit more special. And that became the sort of the driving point for doing the Tesla conversion. And having been involved with the people involved in that project for years, Jim Router and various others that have been involved in those sort of projects, it made sense to build a business model around coach building and modification, alteration. And that's on the Tesla was a showcase car. It was a vehicle that we developed and needed to be a production vehicle. It couldn't be a one-off. It had to be a fully production certified vehicle. And yes, there was an element of us thinking, well, maybe we could make the fastest estate car in the world at the same time. So we did. So it's what gets me going is the drive to actually have a go at something, and can you succeed? And anything from starting with clean sheets of paper, Lotus going, can we predict the sound around this vehicle? Hypothetically, can we get it down to 99% accuracy, through to designing and being involved in the Tesla car or hydrogen, disruptive technology in hydrogen using plasma gases and all the rest of it. I want to know if it can be done, and I want to strive to see it happen. If you fail, you fail along the way. There's no problem in failure, but I get really interested and fascinated by projects, and how can we make this commercially viable? What can we do? And I get involved not just in the engineering aspects of it, but in the full business model as well.
Yeah. And you've also been quite active in bringing the purchase of electric vehicles to become a viable thing in what I guess are emerging markets. By that I don't mean places like India or China, but you were talking about Greece and that kind of thing, where they haven't really got they haven't really nailed it yet, but you're kind of helping out over there to get people buying more electric vehicles.
Yeah, the UK's had it for a little while. And it's been established. We kind of know we can go into a Renault or a Nissan dealership or a Tesla or whatever and get an electric vehicle. We're kind of okay with it now. But we set up, Jared Chusto set up a business called TryEV, which I'm involved in, director of. And it was to try and get a platform using a comparison platform, if you like a compare the market kind of thing. I don't want to say that, but that kind of thing, where you could choose the electric vehicle to meet your demands, so your lifestyle, your work, your commute or whatever. Because a lot of people were objecting, well, it only has a range of 100 miles. Yeah, okay, but 90% of the time you use it for 30 miles, so don't worry about that extra one journey to Aberdeen you do once every 4 years that actually forgot for the last 3 years running. So we try and push for that. Now in the UK, it didn't quite work as a business plan, and it didn't quite work, although it's still bubbling. It didn't quite work as well as we hoped, not because of COVID and not because of other things, but because unless you're in a big city, unless you're being legislated that you must look at electric vehicle, very difficult to get the market to start turning away. You can.
Right.
And where I found this traction is in Greece.
Right.
Greece, the economy has been in its worst place you could ever imagine. They have one of the highest pollution levels in Europe in their cities. And that's
Right.
to do with historical cities. Our cities are industrial revolution cities. They were built where they are because of raw materials and resources and so on and so forth. In Greece, the cities are built through defensive valleys or crossing points of rivers. So the pollution stays in these kind of dips and valleys. And now they're doing something about it. They're legislating. So they've got the carrot, which is incentive for buying cars, and the stick that says you will not drive into this city with this kind of diesel or petrol car because people are dying, you know. So we said, okay, what if we push that model into Greece? And Try VGR was set up and is now live. You can go onto the website, it's great. And we're doing comparisons for different electric vehicles. And we're being supported by, I guess, promotion in some level by the Greek government at one level. And we're being pushed into the marketplace and supported by the marketplace by the vehicle manufacturers in Greece, because they've realized there's an opportunity to sell low carbon vehicles in that country. So now we've established, we've already just been involved in donating an electric van for the distribution of medicines throughout Athens during the COVID thing, which is a similar thing we did in London. And we're making traction in a country where traditionally it's always been about diesels, petrol pickup trucks and all the rest of it, saying, oh, well, we're interested. And now we're putting the infrastructure in, charging posts and all the rest of it. So you don't have to be in the UK to do business. You can go abroad, and there's opportunity there. Okay, there's the big Brexit issue, which no one likes to talk about, but I actually don't see it as an issue right now. It might be in the future, but I did a comment not long ago on Twitter, if you commented on it, it's Brexit is a bit like the famous Jeff Goldblum phrase out of Jurassic Park. And it's not nature will find a way, business will find a way. And it's these obstacles that just get put in front of you. And if you've got the drive, the ambition to make something work, you'll force your way through any issues that come up like Brexit or anything like that.
Oh, fantastic. It was good to hear that you're kind of actively putting it out there. And I know you from various projects that have all been incredibly fascinating. So it's great to have a chat to you whenever I can get a chance.
I liked the way you called it the big Brexit, like a terrible version of Big Breakfast.
Yeah.
Made me think of that. It's time for the big Brexit.
I thought it was going to start premiering. I thought it was going to start premiering on Channel 4 in the mornings at 6 o'clock.
Nigel Farage telling you to go back to your own country.
Before we move on to, we'll have a chat about the Tesla again, because that's the kind of where I kind of know you from. Before we do that, the theme of the week for this week, the guys have been talking about cars that have been forgotten. And I did just launch this on you earlier today, I think. Have you had a chance to think about cars that were about and have disappeared from our memories?
There are so many.
Oh. Sorry, I was like, who are you talking to?
Oh, sorry, still to say, yeah, I wasn't really very clear there. Sorry, Dorian.
There are so many. For me, it's the trash from the 70s, which I kind of miss. And I think specifically an old dog, which is like the Hillman Avenger.
Calm down, Andrew.
I was going to say actually, I actually have a little bit of a scoop on the Avenger. Sorry, never think you'd hear that. But apparently, a random factoid. It's probably proves why I'm single. When the Avenger was launched, believe it or not, they use the theme of the Avengers to promote it.
Right.
And there is actually, I have the video, and I have to ask the website if I can use it. But there is actually a video, an advert, and there's this very big muscular type man, kind of like, the kind of people, like yourself, Damien, And basically, he gets out of the car and he walks around. He keeps hitting it, which, if you look at the quality of Avengers in Lynn back in the day, it was kind of a dangerous thing because like the wings used to fall off. But yeah, no, the Avenger is an interesting car. It's I think there was 10 versions of the Avenger, wasn't that right? It's the car with multiple brands. It was known as a Dodge. It was known as a Chrysler, known as a Hillman, known as a Talbot. It was known as a Dodge. And a few.
The Iranian version. There's even more than 10. It's possibly the most badge engineered car there's ever been.
Oh yeah. No, it's. I know. Also, it's known as a Plymouth as well. Sorry, forgive me. I'll shut up now.
Well,
Sorry.
I was just going to say the Dodge had the far better name, wasn't it? Something like the.
It's called the Polara. It's called the Polara in Argentina, I think. It's called the Polara, I think.
I seem to remember it had a really cool name in America.
Cricket.
Like Cricket, yeah.
Yeah. It's like nice tweet.
Plymouth Cricket. Here we go. I'm looking at it.
Out for a duck.
Legs for rust, eh?
Sorry, Dorian. What's the car? The car was the Hillman Avenger that you go for.
I would, yeah. I mean, it's a long lost car that's been mass produced by multiple countries around the world, and we just don't see them anymore for probably. No.
Good one to ask. The young people here, like Craig and Cammie, have you guys ever heard of the Hillman Avenger? Or no? Craig's shaking his head. Cammie's shaking her head.
It's a great name. But Avenger.
It's a cool name. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, guys. So Craig,
my mum's uncle had one, and
sorry, Alan.
So I was going to say, just whilst it was silent, I was going to say my mum's uncle had one, and the only notable bit about that is that he worked for Bridge of Wheel Leather. There's a useless fact.
I heard something about leather.
Something leather, yeah. Alan, you're struggling nowadays, aren't you? This is the professional podcaster that we've got on now.
I was going to say, Alan, is your Ethernet connected properly?
It works fine for that. Fine for that.
It's fine until you start talking, Alan.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bridge of Wheel Leather is, of course.
Just remembered what I've done wrong.
Back in a remix.
Bridge of Wheel Leather is, of course, the leather of choice for Aston Martins.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
just good. What have we got there from Andrew? What's
the
this?
Avenger?
No, that's the.
That looks like the Talbot sign on the front of that grill.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's actually the Chrysler one, but look at the tartan. Look at the tartan.
Look at the tartan. I can't see the tartan from here. Oh my.
No, we just see a wheel now, Andrew. Sure.
Weren't wheels small on older cars?
They were
big in modern
they were.
cars.
It was sort of like you were lucky if you got a 12-inch wheel on a Mini, let alone anything else. Because I had a Mini Chelsea as my first ever car, and the old generation Minis you don't seem to hear that much of either these days.
No,
it's more like the BMW variety, which actually I was part of a Mini club for a couple of years, and I was the first one to implement something that we called the Half Series Society, because the Mini was built in Britain, but it was half BMW because it was made by them. So we sort of like thought, well, it's not rear-wheel drive like the 1 Series. Yeah, it's basically a 1 Series cut in half, and they've just stuck the drivetrain on the front axle. There you go.
It's a Half Series, the BMW Half Series.
Well, we called it the Half Series Society. That was an offshoot of the group of the Anglian Mini Club, which I was part of the committee for about a couple of years, and I had some wonderful times in the. So I've owned both. I've owned the first generation BMW Mini, which had the Pentagon engine from Chrysler, and then had the Rover 5-speed in it as well, and it was the Mini 1, and we drove. I'm kind of regretting that I bought the car secondhand because it didn't come with aircon. So we did a round trip of about 3,500 miles from Ipswich down to Salou for the International Mini Meet that year, and no aircon.
Oh.
So the windows were open all the time, and then as soon as we got to the Millau Bridge, my hay fever went off like a battleship firing a warning shot. It just went. I just went. I can't drive at the moment. It's all streaming. Nose was flaring up. Eyes were red, and consistently sneezing into a handkerchief. Not exactly the greatest thing you want on a nice long road trip.
No. That's horrible. 3,500 miles of that. Oh dear. So let's cut to Craig next, if that's okay. Craig, have you had time to think about this for this week?
I had time to think about it. I wrote it down, misplaced a piece of paper, and then completely forgotten what I had in my head.
Your car was so forgettable that you forgot it.
Yeah, that's the whole point, isn't it?
That's the most forgettable of them all. Yeah, no worries.
You've won. Well done.
Yeah. Okay, let's have LA next. Let's have LA instead then.
Well, I'm a bit relieved, really, Craig, because I kind of think that I might have picked your car that you've forgotten. So it's not really a car, but it's a car. I don't care. I didn't even read this earlier on. I didn't even know we were doing it. So I just spent the first 10 minutes trying to find something. Anyway, I'm picking the Cooper T43.
Oh right, okay.
It's not a road car. Well, unless you took it out on the road.
Cooper Jazz or something.
And it won the 1958 Argentinian Grand Prix with Sterling Moss in charge. Apparently it was the first ever mid-engined car to win a Formula One race. This is off Top Gear, so they had a bit of fun with it, and they just said it had the physical presence of a housefly, but it was an inspiration for the cars we have today. So if you do go on and read the description, it says that they were trying to build the car around a small engine and work on like the aerodynamics as much as possible, which was actually weirdly today you wouldn't think they haven't always been working on that, right? But back in those days it was a case of sort of like the heavier, and the with weight and the horsepower to the max. So those were the cars that were around at the time, and this is something that the Cooper clan came up with, and it's what we know and love today, right? So
yeah, it's just standard now to be. So what was it? T43 was it? Sorry.
T43, yeah, Cooper. Yeah,
to be honest, I wouldn't have been able to identify it from a picture, so I guess it is.
No, I do recognise the picture. That's why I ended up picking it. But I just wouldn't have remembered off the top of my head what it was or why. But not strictly a road car. But it's a car.
It didn't have to be a road car. So that's absolutely fine.
But if Craig, if you want, I found one for you anyway. If you want to talk about this one,
on the spot.
It's apparently it's a little Tykes cozy coupe.
What are you implying,
Oh,
they'll never be forgotten.
Well done, Lard. From one extreme to the other.
It was actually my backup car, just in case you picked the other one.
That's brilliant. That's best.
Are you looking at Autocar's best toys list or whatever it was, the top 10 toy cars list?
Yeah, Nia knows this one. Yeah.
But apparently, believe it or not, I don't know when this article was written because I've just screenshot it, so I can't check the date. But apparently, it's the world's best-selling car.
Oh, here's a good one. Who is the world's biggest manufacturer of tires?
Lego.
Oh, Nick, come on.
He'd say tire before he finished.
Who do I think I'm kidding?
No, that's fantastic. I got stuck in one of those little Tykes cars at one point when I was about 30 years old. Yeah.
I was going to say, was that 13? Last week?
Yeah. Did you mean to say 13 there?
You know what? It was. I was definitely in my 30s. There's probably a photo somewhere, but it was. It's all good.
It's probably lingering. It's probably lingering on Facebook.
Yeah, it's bound to be. Everything's on Facebook. Did you hear about the guy who insisted on trying to sell We Buy Any Car, one of those little Tykes cars as well? And We Buy Any Car were quite annoyed about the whole thing. No, there's a letter out there where he's shown their response and that they're basically calling him a stupid child because he asked We Buy Any Car to buy that car. But anyway, Naomi, let's have you next.
Sure. So mine, I don't know if it's necessarily a forgotten car, but we didn't really get them in Ireland. In Ireland, growing up, you had either a Starlet or a Corolla, but my choice is the street car, which is appropriate for what Alan was saying earlier. I know that they were around quite a bit, but I just love them. I think they're a bit bananas. Launched by Kylie Minogue, so already a winner. 1.6 engine, so very racy. Apparently not designed but built near one.
Talk about Kylie Minogue when Richard's not on the line. It's not fair.
You what?
I know he's going to be
Can't
so
talk about
jealous.
Kylie when Richard Gooding's not on the line.
But I was going to say, I was researching it and I didn't realize, Near, you'll probably know why. It was not designed by, but built by Pininfarina, which feels like
I did not know
they're
that.
all around. But I love them. I had two cars, as I mentioned, years and years ago, or what feels like it, many ZoomZoomers ago. It was my first car and my second car, and it was the car I traveled around Scotland with, and we were talking about our road trips and everything the other day. And I just loved that thing. And we don't really get the most exciting cars over in Ireland, and I still would really actually like one. And it appeals to the Audi TT aesthetic I've mentioned before as well, that curviness. So that's the car I would actually still really quite like.
I reckon they're due that weird Ford bubble of value jumping. They can't be that far away from it because there's not many of them left. So who knows if you manage to find one?
If you can find one that isn't rotten, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is there are ones around you just can put your finger through the wheel arch and stuff. If
and you chose that finger, did you, Alan?
What?
Yeah,
you can hear me for once. Come on.
I know you can hear you now. This is great.
Yeah.
But
it looks like Naomi just took over there a little bit with.
It was a bit blocky from Naomi. Yeah. I wasn't sure if anyone had that.
I'm just going to add something here to the Street KA mix because obviously Thunderbirds had a tie-in, didn't they? The pink variation. Would you ever consider one of those, Naomi, in that colour? Bright,
why not?
Bright pink.
Yeah, Naomi could pull it off.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the big Ford Thunderbird. Was it a Ford Thunderbird for Parkers?
Yeah.
But it's not a Rolls Royce anymore.
The Thunderbird film was just a Ford advert, wasn't it? Basically, it was just it was just 2 hours of Ford ads.
And what was the band that did the music for it?
Busted.
Busted.
Might have been Busted.
Bands we've forgotten.
Hang on, wasn't that on the chase earlier?
Was it?
I don't
know. No. Ian, bless you. You've been sat there very patiently, and we're only 56 minutes in.
Awake, wide awake.
You seemed like you were perhaps drifting a little bit about half an hour ago, but you've managed to hold on.
Fall off the chair down here. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've gone for a colour. Actually, I saw when I was a kid at school, and I was like, oh my god, that's an awesome looking sports car. Which it isn't. It's a Quantum.
Oh
yeah, okay.
There you go.
A Quantum H4 is that an H4?
So I think from memory, because you had like the hatchbacky version, and you had more saloon version, but it's actually based on a Ford Fiesta Mark 1.
What was it called? Did you say?
A Quantum.
Quantum.
I built one.
It was made of glass.
Dorian.
I have, yeah.
Dorian's built one.
I have, yeah. 2 + 2.
Yeah, it was a kicker, and it's made of glass reinforced. What was it? Glass reinforced plastic? No,
GRP.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember it was a teacher who was like in the tech department at school, and he had it parked up, and I was like, I haven't seen one since, but it has quite very retro styling down the side. And then that's what they ended up making in the end, though. They now make these kind of more patron-y type ones in Devon, I believe. I think they're still going, possibly, maybe not, don't know. But that's how I remember it anyway, that kind of, in that particular red. Kind of looks a little like a Chevette, though, which, that's probably why I quite like. Particularly that one.
Yeah. I think they tended to fade. That red ended up being a bit more pink after a few years. So Dorian, you built yours. Did you?
Mine, but I built it for somebody.
Oh right, okay.
2 + 2 with a 1600. It was an XR3i engine because we couldn't get an XR2i.
Wow.
2 + 2, which you wouldn't have two people in the back if you really wanted to. Full convertible, but it was rapid. It was a really rapid car.
Yeah. But talking of rapid, kit-built vehicles or one-offs. I remember when I went down to the secret location where the QS was being created, and Jim. So, for anyone who doesn't know Jim Bruter, he's been involved in some mad projects over the years. Like I mentioned earlier, like McLaren F1 projects and Le Mans cars as well. Dorian will know more about this than I will. But he had tucked in a corner the stealth car that was trying to get away from being caught speeding or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jim's legendary stealth car. I think he had a space and he was a bit knocked and thought he'd try and build using a kind of McLaren-esque footprint, one in the front, two in either side format, and try and get through police radar detection by using stealth body panels and geometries to deflect radar.
It looked the cross between a stealth bomber and the Batmobile, didn't it? And it was just this bizarre thing. Does it still run, do you know?
Well, it should do. I mean, it's got sort of Lotus Esprit running gear and all the rest of it. I've never seen it run.
No.
I just know it in the back of in the workshop, covered in dust.
Yeah, under a tarpaulin covered in dust. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so before we kind of go on to red-green questions and that kind of thing, Andrew. Now, I have been leaving you to last for the cars people have forgotten, because I thought there's bound to be one that nobody else has said that you've got in your back pocket.
Well, I grabbed a couple of. This is not the car, by the way. But I've grabbed one here. Can people hear me? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, first, I grabbed an old car. I grabbed an old issue of car here.
Nice.
And I'll just show you two very quickly, okay? There's that. Remember that one?
There's a couple of nods there, I think, but I'm not sure what it is.
That is it. That's
Toyota Cressida.
Or the Cressida, as some people, the posh people call it, a Cressida.
Yes, we had one. We had one in Saudi when I was small.
Oh, you see, you know. And then there's also this car as well. Remember that one? Which is which is not the Vauxhall Victor, it's the VX Vauxhall.
Oh, that's an oldie.
In Ireland, weird thing about Ireland is Ireland, for some reason, I mean, they must have had some deal with Vauxhall, but loads of police cars were Vauxhalls in the 70s. Or squad cars, as they used to call them, squad cars. So we had a lot of, if you look at all Irish films, you'll always see Victors or VXs. And then the only people who bought them as well. But the car I picked wasn't a British Leyland car, as everyone thinks I'm going to say. But it's a car which was one of the most successful cars of the 1970s in Europe. And it's a great example of a car that was everywhere and then disappears. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do it. I've got the advert here. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. So this is a Swiss Italian advert. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've paused, and for some reason my screen has gone muted, so maybe you can see this.
Yeah.
La Simca 1100.
Can you see that?
Potete caricare una macchina per scrivere, un ficus, due gomme per cancellare, una sedia per ufficio e
Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear some noise.
Can't see it.
You can't see it because I for some reason my big moment and it actually paused on me. Sorry, this is the nature of my computer. Sorry.
Modern technology these days.
Excuse me. I know no kids are watching. You know. Well, the car. The car I actually was going to talk about was the Simca 1100.
Oh,
right.
The saloon version of the Matra Rancho.
Absolutely.
Was it?
Alan's on fire tonight.
The story is about the Simca, 1100. Is firstly, it was a car that was launched in '67.
Yeah, Nia's got one. Yeah. Oh, sort of.
Yeah. Actually, I ran over there because I thought you were going to go for that, and I was pretty close.
What is that, Nia?
It's Alpine, which is
the Alpine was. I tell you that the Alpine was designed, or the design team was Roy Axe, who ended up in British Leyland. Austin Rover in the 1980s, because it was developed over in Jaguar's place, JLR's place later on. Whatever the design center was called. Anyway, the Simca 1100, it was launched in '67, and it really was the template of the modern small hatchback. Because Volkswagen used that as an inspiration to some extent for the Golf. It was also a car that inspired any kind of like small family hatchback. Really kind of goes back to the 1100. And it also was the first quote unquote hot hatch.
Right.
There was a model launched in '73 called the TI, and the TI, not sold in the UK, but sold in Europe, And the TI really was the first hot hatch. Ah, it's working! Yay! Sorry, forgive me there. I don't want to conform to stereotype. I'll show you.
I'm not sure what happened there, Andrew.
I'll show you an advert that I found. I'll just play this bloody thing here. God, it's 1 second there now. It's wonderful. I love the fact that my computer doesn't work when it needs to. You know.
It's been working okay for us, I think.
Vi potete caricare una macchina per scrivere, un ficus, 2 gomme per cancellare, una sedia per ufficio e 4 cugine. Oppure una carrozzella, una mamma col bambino, la zia.
I'm so sorry, that advert's been tarnished by an Instagram notification just now.
Hey, I'm a victim of my own success, you know.
Oppure 17 valigie. E poi vi resta ancora.
I have no idea what they're saying.
It's so Italian.
In there anyway, you know? So I don't know. Oh, sorry. Forgive me.
A bit of leg.
Okay, so the car itself, anyway, is a Simca 1100, and as Alan, of course, rightly noted, the Simca Mataranci, of course, is a car which was developed from the Simca 1100, and it's actually developed from the van. Because you look at it, and I have to thank Stuart from Twitter for noting. There you go. And you know what?
That's before he crashed it, of course.
Can I be a nerd here and tell you what model that is? That's a Seco. That's a Seco. Yeah, I know, it's pathetic, isn't it? Awful, I know.
No, that's welcomed on this Zoom.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about it is now, you see the thing about it is with the Simca 1100, it's a classic example of how ubiquity can destroy a car. Because this is the kind of car that people used to scrap because it had no value.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, I guarantee you, if this Zoom call, Damien, 20 years time when you're still doing the Zoom calls, okay, people will say, whatever happened to a Nissan Qashqai?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. They were everywhere.
Thank God they're all gone.
Yeah, because if you look at it, if you look at these cars like the 1100, I mean, this is a car that was massively successful. It was the last French car that wasn't a Renault, and it wasn't a Peugeot. That was the best-selling car in France.
Yeah.
It's gone. You can't
because nobody cared. That's the thing.
Nobody cares, you see. And I think Matt Pryor made a comment about it on, not that car specifically, but the Festival and Exceptional. Because if you look at the Festival and Exceptional, it's people keeping cars, because we all go to classic car shows. And it's great seeing all these E-types, but I mean, most people are amazed when they look at things like a Renault 12.
Absolutely.
When's the last time you saw a Renault 12?
Yeah.
So forgive the problem with the computer, but Simca 1100. There you go.
Fantastic. Now, before we leave and go on to the red-green questions, there is one guy left there. Mark, have you had a chance to think about this, and have you got a 4-wheel vehicle for us?
I have. I'm with cars this week. Yeah, right. Just a quick one. Does anyone recognise this? It was an absolute legend back in its day. One-off, but does anyone recognise that car?
That's a Rolls Royce. That's a Rolls Royce.
Oh, close.
That's the car. That's the
Beast. The Beast.
Rolls Royce Aeroin.
Yes.
The Beast.
It's the Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's John. Yeah. So in the 70s. Yeah, a dude called John Dodd built that thing from scratch, and it had a Rolls Royce grille, so you're right, to start with, until Rolls Royce took out an injunction and made him change it. But it also had a 27-litre V12 engine. It wasn't the Merlin engine, because that has superchargers. It was the Meteor, which was a normally aspirated version from tanks, but absolutely awesome back in its day. Still floating around today, apparently, in Spain.
Wow.
It had 2 different bodies, isn't it?
No, same. That was the later incarnation, because the first one I think caught fire or something.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Mark, wasn't there a story about that car that when they were when Rolls Royce was suing them, that the car when your man brought the car to the court, it kept breaking down?
Yeah.
Story, yeah.
Yeah, apparently something. The guy sounds like an absolute legend. I follow his son on Twitter now. A really nice guy. I think there was something mental, like he rode to court on a horse or some nonsense, just to be a dick. Really, why not?
Oh, brilliant! Thanks for that. Well, thanks everybody for your forgotten cars. We've brought a few back to memories, and yeah, look forward to thinking in 20 years' time about whether we remember the Qashqai and the Almira and all these kind of things, and the Avensis and such. Because who knows? They'll just disappear from memory, hopefully. But this week, I'm going to throw over to Ben Hodges now, if that's okay. Because Ben, you've been busy thinking up some quickfire questions for us this time, which means we all need to get our red and green items close to hand, because we're going to be voting green for yes or agree, or red for no and disagree. And I presume you've got them all there. Yeah,
I have them on my phone because I haven't had a chance to print them out because cat ownership is difficult. So, right, is everyone ready? And I want honest and truthful answers, please. I don't know how I'll know, but I will know. Okay. So, first one. I have curbed the wheel or wheels of a car.
What's that mean?
As if
you've bashed into a curb.
Wheel into a curb when parking it.
Multiple times, do it every day.
I smashed a pair of alloys into smithereens. They broke like a plate when I hit those.
Stop! It's paining me. Okay, right. Well, you'll need to learn to park. Smooth peanut butter is better than crunchy peanut butter.
What?
I'm definitely saying a red on that
is
one.
Better than crunchy.
Oh,
yeah, I'm seeing quite a lot of green.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you see. Did anyone see Naomi moving, or is she just?
No, she. Oh no, she's.
Yeah, she's moving.
She is moving. Yeah. She is moving.
So her hands just like that in the air. Breathe, Naomi, breathe. Oh, don't make me laugh.
Okay. The lack of hydrogen fuel cell cars is a missed opportunity.
The lack of them. Yeah.
Well, Toyota Mirai and Hyundai something. I can't remember.
Nero. Well, yeah, you had the Hyundai Nero, but you also had the iX35, which is the first fuel cell vehicle that they produced and trialed it in Europe, I believe.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, but without Dorian answering, can anybody explain what Dorian is holding up?
What is Dorian holding? Is it broccoli or something? Is someone else?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
He just bought it for this.
There should be a prize for the best thing.
He's got the ladybug as well as the cauliflower.
It's
brilliant.
It's like having Charlie back again.
It's a radish. It's a radish.
It is actually a radish.
It's a radish, and
what did you Google to find those things?
And my kids' toys. I just grabbed them.
So yeah, that's green. That's red. That'll do.
That'll do. Yeah. Sorry, Ben.
That's all right. Right. Next question. Formula One will be electrified within a decade.
I'm looking at Craig and doing what Craig does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red. Oh, there's a little bit green.
Formula E has got a monopoly
If there
on.
wasn't such a thing as Formula E, I would have gone green on this. But the fact that there already is Formula E means that Formula One is going to stay petrol.
And it has a contract, I think.
Yeah, Formula E's got a monopoly on electric single-seater racing for the next 20 or so years, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But
yeah.
Yep.
And Formula One has Aramco as a major sponsor right at the minute.
Yeah, that sort of puts two and two together really very well, doesn't it?
Yeah, if they start to get sponsored by Duracell or something.
Okay, next question. The Aston Martin DBX SUV, which is some of you may know is Aston Martin's first ever SUV, will be a bestseller for the company.
The bestseller for Aston Martin.
I don't know.
Yeah,
sadly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go agree.
I think they're just going to move them like there's no tomorrow.
Like Porsche did. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. Car Buyer is better than Car Wow.
Oh.
Which one do you work for?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about him.
I'm just going to do both.
Car Buyer.
Me and Craig like that.
Car Wow is Matt Watson, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Try V.
Try EV.
Okay. Homer Simpson is the perfect role model of parents. You must have seen it.
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
I heard the word Homer Simpson and parents in the same sentence. Instantly, that flagged red.
No, I've got like a frozen screen on one half of my screen. Oh well.
Oh
Okay,
well.
we'll carry on. Like,
Yeah,
electric scooters are the future of urban mobility.
Hate them.
But you're going to
I'm sort of undecided on that one.
Yeah.
I kind of think that you've got to, I'm not saying you're not doing, but like think about women in these scenarios, and we've got big handbags, scooters, scooters and handbags.
There you go. Lars just put it out there, plain and simple for everybody. There you go.
I think it's called a rucksack. I think that's what you meant to say.
Okay, that's why you have panniers. Make panniers, you know. Like,
make panniers.
Yeah, but then the thing is that the center of gravity is going to be a bit lower towards the ground, and if you try and go around a corner, what's going to happen? It's going to flip. If you have panniers on the side of it.
Tricycles.
Yes, a few years ago, I was involved in a project for last mile delivery for a major organisation who were betting on within 5 years that the biggest bottleneck to shopping is the instant buzz of shopping. And yeah, you get the fix, you press your button, but you still got to wait 24 hours before you get it. So if you can get it in 20 minutes, then you've still got the buzz. So last mile delivery with zero tailpipe was the target for a platform vehicle that was involved in the development of, autonomous, of course. And that's still where the big money is at the moment for most of the major retailers who have got the nous to do that. So you won't need to carry a big bag on your scooter or whatever, because somebody else will bring it to you. All you need to do is go, love that, it'll arrive.
Like those wee Starship, like the Starship robots that you get in Milton Keynes. You see them bumbling along, and they're really, really cute.
They should give them names. Like Eddie Stobart lorries have names. They should have like things written on the front of them to make people love them a bit more. Yeah.
Any more?
What?
Yeah.
What's going on? Did it go quiet?
It did for a second,
yeah. Collecting model cars as an adult is okay.
Oh,
yeah.
No. You caught me out with that one, Ben.
I didn't hear it.
Collecting model cars as an adult is okay.
Yeah.
And Near's box code is really, really cool.
And I'm sorry, I've got plenty of them over in the cabinet on my left-hand side. So.
Okay, so modern cars with digital dashboards and touch controls are too distracting.
Oh, where's my green?
Touch controls, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Touch controls are a nightmare.
Funny,
especially when it clicks.
I picked up a motorbike today, a press bike, and that's got one, and it's all touchscreen. Everything I can adjust the suspension, the engine, like the power and all, engine braking, everything, all on a touchscreen. I'm a freaking on a motorbike, man. Not cool.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there a problem with? I mean, I was in the Golf recently, and I mean, like, it's all like the whole display kind of wraps around you, you know.
Yeah.
And the problem is that I think Johnny Smith mentioned it in his ID3 review that you have to go through touch screens to get to just use basic functions. And
yeah.
I mean, we assume people are technically competent in doing this, but I mean, like, sometimes I think designers maybe. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. But maybe designers sometimes kind of get intoxicated by the kind of like the user experience and don't think about the end user sometimes. Just general comment.
You should not have to go through menus or take your eye off the road to switch on wipers to do any of that basic stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great.
Just know where it is. You should just reach out, and it's where you know it is, and then you move it.
Alexa, wipers, please.
I mean, it's quite funny we go on to touch screens, but I think apparently that there's one country, I can't remember which one it was, I saw an article last week that you can actually be cited. You can get a citation for using a touchscreen in your car.
Yeah, it was Germany, and it was someone. It's Germany, and it was someone changing the speed of their wipers manually on a Tesla Model 3 because he said that the voice command wasn't working. properly, and so it was a safety thing. That was his defense. And the judge said, no, actually, it's distracting. You shouldn't be having to look away from the road. And that in turn had caused an accident. That's what triggered this.
So it was
big thing in Germany the other week.
Yeah. So Elon Musk, get some normal stalks put on your cars, please, just in case. Because I recently picked up a hire car in Germany, and it was a 2019 Mondeo ST line, and it had every single gadget: TFT touchscreen with the Sync 3. 12.1-inch TFT for the dash display, more buttons than I could shake a stick at, apart from when they first brought out the Sony head units in I think it was the Gen 2 Ford Focus, where it looked like you had a piano on your dashboard, let alone a touchscreen. But now it's all, everything's all Apple CarPlay and everything like that. Yeah, so that was quite bamboozling. And then I realised how much kit was on the car. And I was like thinking, I've just got this for the price of a Volkswagen Golf rental. And I've got and it was a proper big estate as well. And I was like, hang on, there's only little old me in my suitcase. That's it. I didn't really want anything bigger. And they said, that's all we had.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to have that much on a hire car when you're never going to get the chance to sit down and think about it all. It's just a bit of overkill, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it had lane departure assist, parallel park assist, Sync 3, leather heated and cooled seats, which is normally the sort of like thing you see on most high-end Fords these days. It had the black pack, so it had the chrome delete, so it was in Panther black anyway. 18-inch wheels, full 360 parking sensors, and I had to drive. Imagine your trepidation when you go to pick up the hire car, and you are on the 7th floor at Düsseldorf Airport, and you've got to.
Oh, it's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, it's a good one. When you start from floor number 7, and then you have to go all the way down to ground zero, and then you got a van behind you trying to get past. I'm like this. I'm like, right, don't scratch it. Hang on, you've got full insurance coverage. And then it was sort of like after like the first 3, I felt a bit safer, but then I still went, well, I'm not going to chance it because this is going to be a big car before I want to get on the Autobahn.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's also the other question as well. Is what will all these things work after 10 years when the car has had 3 owners? You know what I mean?
Yeah, people start getting parts from aftermarket places and getting them done at a backstreet dealership. And
but why does the manufacturer care? Because it's out with their care at that point.
Well, this is the kind of the reputation thing, in the same way that McDonald's suffers if their customers go on to chuck all McDonald's wrappers into the roadside, and although McDonald's aren't really responsible for what their customers do, it still reflects back on them. And I wonder if manufacturers don't think long term about how their cars are going to be perceived in 10, 20 years time. Maybe that's maybe that's something they have to take into account just to maintain their reputation. And they don't want to look back. Well, it's probably someone else's problem to deal with, and think we've got this really bad reputation now because our cars keep going wrong. And maybe they do need to think a bit further into the future and make sure that, I mean, it's hard to test, isn't it? How do you test whether something's going to work in 40 years' time? It's a tricky thing, isn't it? But I'm not sure what the solution is there, really, to be honest.
If it starts hitting the residuals, if the value of the car at 3 years starts dropping because everybody knows that at 7 years you're not going to be able to sell it, then they might start doing something about it.
Yeah.
Because they only care about the first owner. They don't care about the guy who's got it when it's 10 years old. But if the first owner can't sell it at 3 years because the guy at 3 years knows that he's not going to be able to sell it at 7 years, but the market doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, the only
Are we still answering questions?
Yeah, sorry, we've gone off on a few tangents, but I think Ben's got a few more up his sleeve. Sorry, LA.
I got a bit lost. My fibro's kicking in. I'm getting lost.
So I always park as far away as possible from every other car in a supermarket car park.
When it's new.
Lots of
when it's new.
Yeah.
Even when it's old.
Even when it's
old.
I
just don't want to walk very far, so I'll just go.
I don't mind. If I can't, I look for the nicest car where I think they won't want to ding their door into mine.
Well, I have an extra neighbour
way of doing it.
I have an extra neighbour who's terrible at parking, and then they're both sides, and they bang, bang, bang.
I don't care. I've got a 20-year-old Volvo. I'm not bothered.
Wish I did a 20-year-old Volvo.
You can have it.
Oh no! But you what? Okay, you take the Volvo, and you can have my Mini Cooper. Okay.
She's been trying to get rid of that Volvo for a while, just to warn you, Andrew.
Yeah. Don't take her up too quickly on that.
Yeah, I can't give it away. I can't give it away.
Next question.
Final question is: I have never seen a Fast and Furious film, so that could be any one of them.
Oh yeah,
11 of them.
I've chosen.
Sadly,
never.
I
wish
have.
I could say yes, but I've seen.
There's
the
hundreds
first
of them.
one.
Oh, what does that?
Oh,
You've
I've
never
seen some
seen
red.
one. I have
Never
never
seen 'em.
seen one. Yes, I have never seen one.
Yes, I've never seen
Oh,
one.
I envy you.
I've only seen
Yeah.
two
Well
of
done, those
one
of
of
you
those
that are
because
holding
I had a
up red,
vehicle.
those of you holding up red, hang your heads in shame, including me. I've seen my.
The only decent one is Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
The first
Yes.
one. The first one's the best.
On the first one.
Yeah.
I think I went on a
first
date
one
to
was
see
pretty
one
good.
once.
I saw the first one.
Whoa,
Friends
that's
went,
just
"Oh, you
taking
like
it a complete. Who said that? I went to
Is
see
that
one on a
Craig?
date.
I think Craig did.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey.
Ooh.
That
I
was
guess
the
it didn't
person
work.
that
Estate.
That's double red, sir.
confirmed that it didn't work.
I was going to say, you're still single, aren't you? That's...
Very much so. I'm wearing red just to like emphasize it.
I don't know why I'm laughing, because I am.
I've never seen bloody films like.
Right, so Craig and LA have to go watch another Fast and Furious together. see if magic happens.
Fast and the Furious.
Does it have to be a car film? Could it not be a Formula One film?
Oh no, because you and Craig watching Formula One or Formula Two, you will end up watching the whole practice sessions and everything, won't you? You'll be there. That would never work. You'll be too distracted by the car. So you got to, yeah. Anyway,
I'd like to this week feels like it's been revenge for when some of you guys start talking about racing and it completely loses me. So.
Yeah, it's not been much racing.
Must have been awful for you guys this week. I'm so sorry.
Well, all I'm going to say about this past week or so is that I'm so glad that karting is back, and also Formula E having a great season finale as well.
Yeah, Indy 500 week. This is the best week.
Yes. Yeah, with a first ever in over 30 years happening. This happened just the other day. The pole position.
And Marco Andretti front row. Like, 'tis the season. There's a miracle happening all over the place.
And Alonso is nowhere near the front row.
Yeah, and
Alonso's halfway around the track.
He span it out the pit lane as well, didn't he? He not just had an incident with turn 2, he span it out the pit lane and went, this is going to go well.
I was going to say, that wasn't qualifying, was it?
No, that was practice.
Practice,
I saw
practice,
that one. Practice, he hit the wall and span it during quali.
Now, Alan, sorry you mentioned it.
So, but yeah, no, only, but also in another serious matter, obviously with electric racing as well, is that in the first weekend of September, I actually commentate on electric karting for the very first time because Rotax is bringing the Project E20 to Wackersdorf in Germany.
Oh, cool.
And my first experience of actually being able to commentate on something, and actually people will go, well, we'll be able to hear you. I said, no, it doesn't matter whether it's internal combustion engine or electric power. You'll still bloody hear me. Come on. But yeah, it's quite good because it's actually showing how karting is now starting to embrace the technology, and it's an in-house project that's been in the works at Gelsenkirchen in Austria for the past 3 years. I happen to know quite a few of the people at Rotax as well, and it's an exciting time. Standing starts rather than rolling starts, but when those things can do a lap around Wackersdorf, which is just over 1,160 meters in just under 50 seconds, and they're quicker than an internal combustion engine going through turn 3 at that same circuit, it's rather exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
It does sound exciting, yeah. And it's about time we had a bit of grassroots electric motorsport coming.
Well, Rob Smedley's doing that as well with Electroheads. So yeah, there's a lot of it happening now in karting, and they're making it a lot more affordable rather than sort of getting people to buy the karts and everything. They're actually getting people to so it's basically that you pay as you go. So it's a bit like the sort of say with the new XC40 Pure that Volvo have done, where they're doing the complete package that you pay a fee, you don't own the kart and everything. Exciting times for karting as well, and I'm proud to be part of that new revolution in that sort of side of grassroots motorsport.
You'll be the voice of it.
Send us a link, Alex. That would be cool.
Yes, I will do indeed. There's plenty of links. There's plenty of videos as well. And that's the 4th to the 6th of September that takes place. And so I celebrate my birthday on the Saturday. Funny that. It's happened for the second. It will happen for the second year in a row. I'll be abroad and I'll be celebrating my birthday.
Oh, bless you. Well, we'll be celebrating it for you. We'll be looking out for you. 4th to 6th of September.
Is it now the right time to say I hate you? Because
I was really hoping you weren't going to say that.
I hate you. I was supposed to be away on my birthday last week, but it's not happening, is it?
I know. Well, with all the uncertainty, I mean, you know, the amount of countries that are having to change their protocols, and obviously the UK having to respond.
It's not even that. I was supposed to be in Key West, and I think we're quite welcome there. But I actually don't want to get COVID when I go away, so I'll stay in England.
Well, considering the fact that every single time I've been to a circuit overseas, I've been wearing a face mask. There is no more shaking hands. There's no more hugs. It's sort of like the fist bump or the elbow bump, like we saw with everybody in Berlin. There's a lot. We were even having police inspections in Belgium for the first round of the BNL karting series, and we were getting WhatsApp messages. So I'd be commentating halfway through a race. Police check happening now on my smartphone. I was like, oh God, thank God I'm wearing a mask. I don't know about every other bugger out there. But yeah, it's good to see racing back, and I'm glad to be trackside, but I'm still embracing the sim racing world. So good. It's been nice, and it's been good to come back on ZoomZoomers as well. Thank you for the invite, as always, Damien.
No worries.
Can I have a quick question about racing? Can I? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Okay. Yeah.
Quick. I used to watch Grand Prix, and I didn't. I'm sorry, I'm a bit out of sorts, but I mean, it's just a general comment. You made a good point there about pay as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think one of the problems? God, this sounds like a really meaty question, not meant. But I mean, isn't one of the problems still that you're getting kind of people who are racing who tend to be well off and everything else? I mean, do you think this pay as you go is a kind of a democratization of racing?
I think in some respects, if the teams decide to do that, I mean, from the Project E20 and the Deutsche Elektrokartmeisterschaft who are doing this kind of scheme, it is a way for which where people, it's sort of like a new version of Arrive and Drive, but it's high tech. I'm not too sure if karting is going to do that in the next 10 to 15 years, but I think motorsport in general needs to sort of try and do something in order to equalize things. I think as Lewis Hamilton's been quite vocal about grassroots motorsport, he set up the Hamilton Foundation. There's Rob Smedley giving back. He's even got his own race team in karting now. So he's giving back. His two sons are racing in karting. I had a really good chat with Rob back at Wilton Mill at the Bambino Kart Club Winter Cup, tail end of last year, which was my and it was the middle of December. It was and it was really good to sort of find out about the project. And when he launched Electroheads, I thought, you know what, this is going to be quite interesting. So I think the more teams are in karting, the top tier teams, it is a business. It is very much a business. I think Alex Brundle put it quite well that, you go into racing, you've got to bring the package with you. You can't just bring yourself. You've got to bring the sponsors, the awareness, the social media, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be a time when we will see it, but whether it's going to be in our lifetimes, I'm not too sure. There's still that meritocracy, that business aspect of every type of motorsport where people will want the money in before you get the seat.
I think that's a good point. And also as well, I mean, gotta do a shout out for Racing Pride as well, because they're doing great work as well. I mean, because they're bringing, all this stuff. I mean, I agree with you. I think that's one of the problems, I suppose, with racing is that for years it was kind of like gentlemen and players, that kind of thing, whereby, you have people who were very well off. And I think that, it's good because that's going to get more and more people to race. I mean, and that's the kind of challenge, I suppose, motorsport's going to face in a post-COVID world. You know what I mean? You're going to get more people in to get people, because if you don't have people racing, you don't have any racing.
One thing that COVID has done, though, is I think it's opened up people's eyes to sim racing. We've got Cammie here who does it, and that's one way that there is now this new accepted route into motorsport, which doesn't cost a bomb. And if you want to do well, then you'd still have to perform well. You have to attract a team. Cammie's not lucky to be with Fordzilla. She earned that. But if you want to be backed by a team, you've got to perform. And I think maybe one thing COVID has shown us is that there is this extra route into motorsport that it doesn't cost as much as motorsport normally would do. And if you can prove your worth on gaming and sim racing, then maybe you can get an opportunity to go in and try it out for real. And people have done it with some great success. And I'm aware of the time. So before we kind of wrap up, it has been obviously a very road car heavy day, and we've talked about motorsport now, which actually leads me on to the traditional end of the ZoomZoomers broadcast on a Monday, which is handing over to Craig for a fact of the week. Hello, Craig. Have you got one there for us again?
I do. But firstly, just touching on sim racing and how as a path into wider motorsport, I was thinking that doesn't necessarily just apply to drivers, but it also applies to commentators and also to teams as well. I think of Veloce Esports, who are one of the bigger sim racing organizations out there. And they've managed to work their way into actual racing by taking part in the new Extreme E Championship. So, it's just one example. And Formula E's commentator Jack Nicholls, he made his name commentating in sim racing, and now he's Formula E commentator. So, yeah, it's definitely a very valid way of getting into motorsport.
I think also one other person that I think needs a shout out, Actual Vision, Luke Craig. He did the W Series Esports League. He then got an opportunity to commentate on the DTM Trophy, which is actually one of the feeder series for the DTM at its opening race in Spa-Francorchamps the other week. And, he's a very, very well-known sim racing commentator. I mean, the amount of racing leagues that guy goes through is absolutely mind-boggling. But yeah, people like him, René Butler, who runs with Studio 397 that do R Factor 2. There's so many people that you could list that have done sim racing commentary and that have moved. And then you're finding people like me that are making that transition from real life to sim racing as well. So I think as you say, Damien, it's opened so many people's eyes that I'm quite fortunate to have that opportunity just by one chance. And it's sort of flourished like that, and now I'm sort of like, I think I had to take the day off today because my neck sore, my head was spinning. I just thought, right, what have I got on this week? And then I realized what my itinerary is. Tomorrow I've got 2 touring car events tomorrow night, one of which actually has Jack Nicholls in it, which will be broadcast streamed live. I've then got GT4s on Wednesday, Scottish Motor Racing Club on Thursday, then I've got the E-Team Brit GT3 Challenge finale on Friday. And then I've got 2 days of commentary in Germany, and I'm flying to Germany on Thursday morning, and I'm leaving home at like 2 o'clock in the morning to be able to get there in time for the flight at 6:30 so I can check in on time. So yeah, it's but I think we need to go to Craig's fact of the week because I'm rambling on here.
We could just
sorry, it's been a long time.
It's Nelson Piquet's birthday
today.
Today, the older Nelson Piquet, obviously not Nelson Piquet Jr. 68 today, believe it or not. And a driver of some of the more elegant Formula One cars of all time, I reckon. I think of like the 1983 Brabham, for example, that dart-shaped car, absolutely fantastic. And some of the early Williams Hondas as well, and a couple of the Benettons and so forth. But strange fact, he is the only F1 driver to have won multiple world championships without the team that he was driving for taking the Constructors' Championship in the same season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people always talk about they've always got the best car and all that sort of stuff, but more often than not, turns out they do.
He never got along with his teammates, did he?
No, apart from when he had very much designated number 2 drivers, such as Hector Rebarque in 1981, which is probably why they didn't take partly why they didn't take the Constructors' crown then. So
yeah, that's why he didn't like Mansell, because Mansell didn't want to be a number 2.
Absolutely. So, but slightly unusual fact there.
I remember reading a story, I think it was Nigel Roebuck, when he used to do that car column about in Formula One, and he described Nelson Piquet's World Championship press conference as the most boring press conference he'd ever heard in his life in '87, because I think it was after Mansell crashed at Imola.
Suzuka.
Suzuka. And like he said, he just fell asleep during it, you know.
Well, it's one of the like, worst ways to possibly win a world championship. Really, is by having your teammate injure his back. So,
I think what would be cool maybe at some point is if you dig a little bit more on that and find out how many constructors have won the constructor championship as opposed to a driver in a different team. That would probably be quite cool, because I've got some feeling there's something a bit more recent anyway. I don't know if it was to do with Hakkinen and Ferrari, or am I more in a Red Bull era? I'm not quite sure, but that'd be cool.
Most recent one was 2008 when Ferrari took the constructors championship, but not the drivers.
And so 2000. Oh well, yeah, 2008. You don't need to say. I know. Yeah, I definitely felt there was something quite recent, but it'd be cool to find out how many others maybe in recent times. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think one of the other facts that we need to mention about Nelson Piquet Sr. was Hockenheim 1982 when he tried to do his Hong Kong Fooey on Elio Salazar after crashing out at Hockenheim.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
Do you think he he wasn't Brazil's favourite, was he? They preferred Senna.
They were sort of like torn. You had the PK fans and you had the Senna fans ultimately, and they didn't always necessarily get on too well with one another.
No. Didn't his nose get out of joint because when Senna won the first world championship, he sort of like stole his thunder to a degree after AGP? Wasn't it a bit like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think so, because at that point, PK was being equipped with uncompetitive machinery as well. So that's just how it goes, really.
Cool. Well, thanks ever so much for that again, Craig. So Nelson Piquet's birthday, and he's won championships, and the team never won the Constructors' Championship.
Yep, twice. Two of his free titles.
2 of his free time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that takes us obviously way over the typical finish for ZoomZoomers, but I think it's been fantastic. Again, Ian looks like he's just about hanging on to consciousness. Sorry, but we'll wrap up there, and we'll come across. We'll come again next week. So Mondays 8 p.m. is when you're going to see the ZoomZoomers. So anyone who's watching along live now, fantastic. Thanks ever so much for following it along, sticking with us all this time. If you're watching it back now, make sure you like and subscribe and all those kind of things. Sharing it makes a massive difference. There'll be an easy subscribe button at the bottom of the page there for you. Don't know if I did it the right way there, but until next week, it's goodbye from all of us here at ZoomZoomers, and we look forward to seeing you again at 8 p.m. next Monday. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.